Hey, I'm Zoe.
And I'm Fox.
And today we were going to review the Goonies, but we did you one better. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Did You One Better? This is our podcast where we talk about movies, we talk about what we liked and what we disliked, and we also take that premise and see how we would recreate it in our own styles with our own ideas.
We usually make it a lot.
Yeah, it seems to be the growing trend. For this one, not totally sure if that's necessarily going to be the case, because it is a lot of children, but we'll definitely see. So the Goonies is a classic movie. Everybody loves this movie. People say when you talk about 80s movies, Goonies is one of the first things people talk about. And I'm very sorry to say to everybody who's listening that I fucking hate the Goonies now.
Oh my god. I love it. Your anchor towards it. I do enjoy the Goonies. It's not the love I had for it in middle school. But you know what? To its credit, a lot less slurs in the previous 80s movies we've seen.
Yeah, I don't remember any slurs popping up.
Not a single slur.
Yeah.
It was a child's movie, but we still have to give it some credit because, again, it was the 80s.
Now, that's not to say that there's nothing problematic, because there's the entire character of Sloth, which, if you've never seen the movie, you can just look up Sloth and you can already see how that's a problem.
Yeah, Sloth didn't age well.
Yeah. I'm glad that they treat his character as with niceness, and the kids like him and whatnot. That's something. But if you're gonna go for the misunderstood disability, and then the kids still treat him with respect, you could just have it be a real disability. You don't have to have this hodgepodge mockery of people with disabilities.
I feel like it may be going for a cartoony sort of Elephant Man sort of vibe.
Maybe, but that's also that's the problem, right? So you could just say that he has an actual disability that exists in the real world, because then that becomes a thing of these people with these actual disabilities, you should treat them with respect. But it doesn't land that because it's not, Also, if you're going to do that, just put a disabled actor in the role.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
That would be lovely.
The closest analog to what Sloth has is Down syndrome. Just get a Down syndrome actor.
You know what? Yeah, actually I can see that.
Yeah, it just doesn't land. It's too cartoonish, so the point doesn't work.
It's obvious that it's a cartoony prosthetic.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big problem. It'd be very nice, like you said, if we had a disabled actor, and it was more, realistic as opposed to
that.
Also,
people with physical or facial disabilities, not always, whatever the fuck Sloth was mentally, that's a bad connection to make. Just because somebody's got a face that's a little weirder doesn't mean that they aren't, they can't think for themselves.
Yeah.
And
even if they can't, treat it a little better than the movie.
Yeah. It's just they were walking on fragile ground, and they did not make it. It just did not work.
They stomped on those eggshells.
Yeah. There's also the technically it was only one moment of people kissing minors, but there were several moments that had the same vibe, and that's not a good vibe. Let's not have that one.
I don't the teenagers are not 14. They're 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's ever actually said, but they seem seniors.
Well, Brand failed his driver's test. which in the beginning, like right before the movie takes place.
That
they
is
talk
true.
about it. So he's probably 16.
Right. So a 16-year-old kissing on the lips romantically a child.
To be clear, for people who haven't seen the movie, Brand does not kiss a child.
Right.
Brand's love interest,
Andy,
she kisses a child. But Andy's implied to be the same age as Brand.
Hey, did we actually give a summary of the movie, or did we just start talking about sloth?
Well, we started talking about slurs, so we started talking about like structural issues. So
right.
We didn't really go into the premise. Do you want?
Yeah, let's back up for a minute. So, The Goonies, Never Say Die. It is a classic 80s movie. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. If you haven't, it's about a group of kids who their homes are going to be foreclosed on because of rich white assholes. The true villains of every story.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids, they don't want this to happen. And they stumble on a treasure map. And they're like, well, fuck, let's go get this treasure. And they go and they get this treasure. And along the way, there is a crime family who tries to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful story.
It's certainly a story.
I know I enjoyed it a lot more than you. Partially, I'm sure, due to nostalgia. Like, I just really loved this movie as a kid. I didn't see it until I was in middle school. And I rented it from our local Blockbuster. That sentence aged me. And I watched it on repeat. I watched the special features on repeat. And so it has a soft spot in my heart. And also, a fun fact, I've written Goonies fan fiction.
That doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't.
I like the crime family. The crime family is fun. It's a great dynamic.
I would say of the movie, the crime family is probably my favorite part. But I think because like the only characters that I enjoyed at all were the two brothers of the crime family and Andy's lesbian friend. Well, she's not technically lesbian, but let's be fucking real.
But when you know, you know.
Yeah.
And you know.
So, those are the only characters that I liked. Literally every single other character I fucking despised. Every single one. I hate those fucking kids. I hate them. The thing that made me hate them was not like their character, not like they're caricatures of young kids, because they're not. Because young kids are like that. I've seen enough young kids. They are like that. Now the problem is, and I know this is how young kids are in reality too, but fuck young kids. They will scream over each other every scene they're in. Every single goddamn scene they're in, they will scream over each other. And I can't stand it. So that made me hate them immediately. I did not like Brand because Brand is just a piece of shit. He is a thoughtless, aggro young boy. I do not like that. Andy is way too airheaded. Like, it's to a ridiculous degree.
Andy is like the one character that just I have no love for. Yeah. She really does nothing for me.
And then Andy's lesbian friend she's alright. I'm okay with her, so she's fine. And I don't like the crime mom because she's ultimately because she's abusive. And I just I can't like that.
But as a character, she's fun.
Even then, I didn't like a lot of her lines. I don't think the writing for her was that great.
That's where a lot of the writing in general, the dialogue could just be tightened up.
Right, like the mom, basically the only thing the mom ever said in some form or another was like, "You little shit!" or something like that. She would just scream either some amount of profanities or threaten people, and that's it. and there was nothing else. So it's like there's nothing to really like
Yeah.
about that character. That's why the only thing I could think of to really talk about her is that she's abusive, because that's literally her only character trait.
Yeah.
And then Sloth's all right, but he wasn't allowed a character because he's a disabled boy.
Yeah, his character is disability.
Yeah, so
That's the nicest way to put it.
yeah. Again, swing and a miss. You didn't really do that well.
There's so much fat phobia in this around Chunk. Like
I guess so. I didn't really like. I was it specifically from like the crime mom? Because like aside from that, I can't really think about like the other kids.
I mean, Mouth in particular. The first time we see him interacting with Chunk, he's ignoring what Chunk's saying and forces him to do the truffle shuffle so he can come inside the house. And the truffle shuffle, by the way,
him lifting up his shirt and
jiggling his little fat.
It's not great. That's not great, but like to me, that doesn't even necessarily like feel like he's insulting him specifically for being fat. You know what I mean? Like
like he's insulting him just because he's Chunk.
Well, it's not really about his weight. It's like, I can make him do this weird, funny thing against his will, so I'm going to do it. And it involves him being chunky. But it's like, if he wasn't chunky, he, like Mouth would get him to do something else. You know?
Yeah, I can see that.
And like, a lot of the other characters, like, they will talk about how, like, he wants food, or... like it comes up a couple of times, but it's more, it's always Chunk saying that himself, saying that he's hungry or saying that he wants certain food. And in a way, you could say that the writing is a little bit, weird about it, but I don't think the other characters are specifically. Nobody really gets on his case.
In the end, when his mother, they've finally been, rescued. The whole town is there.
Mom brings pizza.
And it's like, yeah, that's what you want after that fucking ordeal. You want...
Well, they haven't eaten in, over a day. Also,
Oh, yeah, no, they haven't eaten, huh?
Yeah, because they... Yeah, it was a little less than a full day.
Yeah.
And they were down underground with no food the entire time. Because they went on an adventure for treasure and did not get and pack anything.
Yeah.
Except for Data, who just has gadgets. Which is good on him, I guess.
He's prepared.
Saved his ass.
He is prepared, and you have to admire that.
He's prepared in one very specific way, which is just him having gadgets. He's not actually prepared. Let's be very clear about that.
I mean, I think it's that's how you prepare, just by having a lot of random shit you may or may not need. That's how I approach life. And I haven't been shot yet.
I'm going to not say the really, really mean thing my brain wanted to say there.
Now I want to know what it is.
It's like, no wonder you got to this point.
Oh, yeah.
You
know what I do love, though? Mikey?
Mikey.
God.
He's not a mouse.
What I really enjoy is Mikey is so unperturbed by, all this danger. Oh, it's a skeleton? I will just rob his body while everyone looks on in horror. I don't care. We're getting this fucking gold.
Well, there's a very specific dynamic that Mikey has with the adventure that's very interesting. And Sean Astin's acting really does come through. This is Samwise Gamgee. I realized that partway through. This is Samwise Gamgee 20 years before.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I saw a couple of shots and I saw the jaw structure. I'm like, that's way too familiar. So I looked it up. It's fully him.
I can't look at a person and recognize anything from them even if it's just been like 2 months.
Well,
So like for 20 years, that's amazing to me.
well, there we go. But he's he's a great actor even then, and like
it really shows.
Yeah, and there's a great little dynamic because like I think you're right, but it comes specifically. There is an initial reaction of horror to like the dead body, to violence, to all this other crazy shit. But the second he sees any clue or any mystery or any trace of the treasure, he is hyper fixated on that and he can't let it go. So he'll have that initial reaction and then it's immediately gone because his brain is so wrapped up in this other shit.
And like I absolutely adore that. That is fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll just go ahead and jump into the remakes because we've already gone over the movie. The movie at its core is fairly simple. Like the back half of the movie is just a lot of like, here's a wacky scene where they solve a puzzle, or
here's where the kids almost die.
Here's where the kids almost die. Here's where Data uses a gadget. Here's where the kids almost die. Here's when the teenager kisses an 11-year-old. So you have a lot of those scenes, but like there's not a lot of substance.
Right? Yeah, it's just
flashy adventure.
Yeah. Which I love.
Yeah, and like I think at a core premise, I would like this movie, but there's inherently there's issues. There's just like it's little issues that just keep growing into something a lot worse, and it's mainly the writing. It's mainly details in the writing that I don't like. It's a bit of direction. The kids screaming over each other, I fucking despise and hurt my viewing. That on its own made it so hard to watch this that I stopped multiple times because I could not fucking deal with it. But there's also like visual direction parts that aren't great. There's overall plot structural issues that just make it make no real sense. And like all of these individual things I could deal with, you know what I mean? Like, except the kids screaming, but like everything else I could deal with it if it was on its own. But with everything else, it's just like I have nothing to hold on to with this fucking movie. There's nothing here that's entertaining me. I'm either annoyed or I'm bored. It's just it fumbles this like really interesting premise so fucking hard over and over. And it's so frustrating to me. Like, I think if you got a new batch of kids and a new director and you cleaned up the script a little bit, I think this would be an amazing movie. I think, like, as it is, like, you don't have to change, like, any of the plot events. You just kind of, like, get new actors because it's been fucking 40 years. And then you just, like, clean up a little bit. And then I think it would be great.
Oh God, it has been 40 years.
You're close to it.
Somewhere along oh God, I can't go down that rabbit hole.
We are.
Okay. All right, let's go down that rabbit hole real quick.
This is what Chunk looks like now.
Huh.
Brand was Josh Brolin? That's who Brand was?
He's Josh Brolin, that sounds familiar.
He did Thanos. He did the Thanos. He also did the villain of Deadpool 2. Whatever his fucking name is.
I didn't see either of the Deadpool 2s.
There was only one Deadpool 2.
I thought there was two, like a rated R version and a rated PG version.
Well, they're the same fucking movie. Like it's not like there's a different plot for the rated.
Was, like, basically different. I don't know.
No, it's the same. It's the same premise. It has the same characters. Don't quote me on that. I haven't, but I would assume.
Let's be real. If it's a movie from 2010 onwards, I have no idea about it. What were we looking at?
85.
85.
So not quite 40 years. That is 37 years.
Yeah.
That's 37 years.
Something I will give this movie credit for is that opening sequence. Both one of the brothers breaking out of jail, and then the drive through town, the chase with the police. I really enjoyed
where
that.
you get like a little snapshot of all the. I did like that. You get a snapshot of each of the characters as the car chase goes by them, and see like a little bit of their lives. I did like that a lot.
It's clever. It's really fun. It's a great opening.
Mm-hmm. But the Jeff Cohen, the reason why I looked up his IMDb, it turns out it's not him, but he kind of looks like the guy who played Lex Luthor in Smallville. It's not him; it's a different guy. But that none of that is important in the slightest.
Right.
Let's go into the remakes. Do you want to start first?
Do you want me to, or?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. I don't care
Okay.
either way.
So, with something like the Goonies, I want more subtle changes. Things that really bring it into the modern times, okay? So we still open up on a crime family leading the cops on a chase through town where we see glimpses of all the characters. Everyone's still bummed because tomorrow papers are going to be signed, their homes are going to be made into a golf course for rich white pieces of shit. And the kids gather at Mikey's. And this is where the key differences start. First of all, Mouth is Mexican-American. I always have to have at least one.
And that makes sense because he in the movie he knows Spanish perfectly somehow.
Yes, and it changes the tone of the scene when he's translating to Spanish for.
So Mike's mom hires a like temporary maid to clean up their house for the move. And apparently she doesn't speak English, but Mouth knows Spanish, and Mouth is and Mike tells Mouth, let her know, like translate for me really quick about these little things so we can get this done. And Mouth just completely says completely, he says it all in perfect Spanish, but he says like crazy wild shit.
Right,
like talks about like
this
marijuana.
is where the drugs go.
Yeah.
And don't go up into the attic. That is the sex dungeon.
Right. So he just kind of like he just like fucks with the whole situation.
Right. And so with him being Mexican American, now instead of a white boy making a Mexican woman's life harder, it's a Mexican kid teasing an older woman who can honestly instantly tell it's all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe like they just poke fun at white people together. Give something back to me. The next subtle change is with Chunk. He needs to be willing to do the truffle shuffle. I want him to be willing to do the truffle shuffle. I just embrace that. He's like, yes, I have something important to tell you, but I will always stop for the truffle shuffle.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's important for his character. It just makes more sense, too. The next change is Mikey. The others have a nickname, but not him, and it's so weird.
Well, Mikey is his nickname. Like, it's...
Oh, that doesn't count? It's just a shortening of his fucking name. Or
all nickname! Like, well, not all, but a lot of nicknames are just shortening of people's names.
No, but like, Mouth isn't short for Mouth-Xander.
That's what I'm naming my kid.
Oh my god, I want to get a dog named Mouth-Xander. But no, like, Mouth isn't short for anything. It's just Mouth because he's a mouthy son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Alright, and Chunk isn't short for... Oh, shit, something should have come quicker than that. Damn it. But Chunk isn't short for anything. I don't know if we ever find Chunk's real name. He's just Chunk.
He's Lawrence.
Oh.
I think his name might be mentioned. I think his mom says his real name. Oh,
maybe, right. The mom's not going to be like, oh, my sweet darling boy, Chunk.
Yeah.
That's what you name your fat chihuahua. But yeah, like, Mikey is just Mikey. That's just a name. That's not fun. And he needs to have a nickname that has something to do with vision. Now, here's my reason.
What? But what?
Okay, no, hold on. We've already
He has asthma! And kids are horrible pieces of shit. They would do a thing about his asthma.
I mean, okay, I wasn't thinking of it in terms of being awful to each other, but that makes sense. But, like...
With a Chunk!
Well, Data isn't, a bad thing. It's Data because he's...
We don't see Data as a bad thing. For a kid, it's like it's like when you call somebody a computer. Like, when we don't necessarily see that as an insult because we're autistic, but, like... That's
Okay.
a thing. That's a
Okay,
thing.
yeah, no, I do see that. But I was just gonna say, like, because we've already got mouth, obviously, the mouth area, chunk, the stomach area, and then data, the brain. So now we need vision, the eyes. That's where my train of thought was coming from.
I mean, that's fair.
It makes sense.
That's fair. That's a way to do it.
Now, the biggest changes. Brandon is best friends with Steph, and they're both trans. Also, she's a lesbian, and I'll need you to contain your shock.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like The Goonies was a movie that really just made some girls understand.
Yeah.
So you have this like so obvious like icon of lesbianism, even if you can't say the words.
Like, even if you don't, like, know, instinctually, like, this primal thing inside of you knows.
Right, and it's also not like it's not like portrayals of like a lot of gay guys around the same period, which is like really, really obvious, but in stereotypical bad ways. Mm-hmm. This was likely entirely unintentional by the director and actor, but it just works so well.
So you may be wondering where that leaves Andy. Good old Andy, who we love so much.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. She's still going to be an airhead, dating Troy, and her family isn't one that's being forced to foreclose, okay? She thinks it's sad, but she isn't, like, directly involved. So, the kids find the treasure map and escape from Brandon and Steph, run into the Fratellis, yada yada, all that good stuff. The other two, Brandon and Steph, they're going to race after them. It's going to be ridiculous, of course, because this is an 80s, like, family movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to end up running into Andy and Troy. I keep wanting to call him Tony. I don't know what's wrong with me. There's going to be some sort of confrontation, Troy being an asshole. And, I'd like another moment where just for, like, a split second, the audience is like, oh, is Brandon dead? But then they remember, oh, right, it's a kid's movie. He's probably not dead.
Right.
Yet. I'm just saying, he went off that cliff in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's also, like, it's 80s.
Yeah.
And they were a lot, like, more open. But you remember, with The Blob,
yeah.
Not necessarily a kid's movie, but, like, The Blob openly and showed, like, kids getting eaten. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's a line that R-rated movies today won't cross.
Yes, because, cowards.
Yes.
Hollywood has become just full of cowards. I mean, they always had cowards, don't get me wrong. But now it's even more so. It's more upfront with its cowardice. So anyway, Steph admonishes Andy for being such a piece of shit, which is why Andy ends up following them to the place and getting mixed up in everything. She's like, I wanted to come and apologize, and I'm going to insert myself into whatever the fuck you're doing.
Naturally.
So basically, things happen like they do in the movie, for the most part from this point forward, just shenanigans where they almost die. It's all, fun and games for the kids. But, just like a few little differences that make everything tighter. Like that well scene, okay? Where they don't take the coins because they're all someone's dreams or whatever.
Yeah.
I hate that speech. And I want Andy to say that. And for someone else to just shoot her down for being fucking stupid and ridiculous. And I know that sounds mean, but, like, especially Mouth, okay?
Yeah.
Mouth.
I can see Mouth being, like, that's really stupid. And it also kind of, like, it also makes sense because, like, most of the kids are, like, from pretty poor families, mm-hmm. right? I mean, we know that the main kids are, because that's, like, the whole conflict of the movie.
Right.
But it's kind of, like, implied that the other kids are, too. There's a reason why Data uses, like, ramshackle inventions out of, like, scrap and shit. Because it's like he just dumpster dives, And I have that feeling that, like, Mouth is also from like a dirt poor family. So like it's not just in his character of like just being an asshole who like wouldn't care about other people's wishes, but he would also just be like constantly in the back of his head, how can I get some money from this?
Right, but and it's just like he would be the one to say, they're not dreams, they're coins. Not even enough for a night on the town, let alone saving the town. And then of course like a moment with Steph confronting Andy about it. For like a little bit of that sapphic tension.
Right.
Which is why I'm changing my middle name to Sapphic Tension.
What was the whole thing of like, I can't remember why they weren't able to get rescued through the well.
Oh, that's because Troy was going to like lift them up. He was about to.
Right.
But then Mikey was like, this is our time down here.
Oh, that, yeah.
Our time!
I forgot because it was so fucking stupid.
And that's actually segues right into my next change. That fucking speech. Okay, obviously, some big speech needs to happen, yeah. But I want it to actually make sense. Not just be like these pretty vapid words, okay?
Yeah, well, Mikey wants to hold on to his childhood.
Yeah, like...
That's the whole point of the movie.
Yeah, just something that makes sense, you know. And maybe he throws in something about how Willie didn't give up. Goonies don't give up. They're the last hope of sticking together.
Yeah, because I feel like Mikey would definitely focus on that, where it's like, when he's talking about this, he would focus on the practical situation of like, we've got to find something that helps us stay in town. We got to find something that helps us, pay this mortgage. We got to do whatever. And I am going to go to wild places and I'm going to, do stuff that is like, he doesn't fully realize he's risking his life because he's a kid.
He's like, I will touch this corpse to save us all, okay?
Right.
You all need to make the sacrifice too.
And he's like making these like extreme strides to it, but that's what he says is his reasoning. But that's not what his actual reasoning is. His actual reasoning is that he wants to still feel like a kid and he wants to have all that one last adventure with his friends because he doesn't believe this adventure is going to actually solve anything. He doesn't think it's actually going to save his fucking house.
He's desperate for something.
So he wants one last adventure with the Goonies, and then the adventure gets more and more intense, and he gets more and more into it. But he can't say that. He can't say that to people because the other people will be like, you would have like a fucking death wish at this point. Which he kind of does. Like, I mean,
didn't we all at 10 years old?
Well. But like, that speech... The issue with that speech is that that dynamic of what he's thinking versus what he's saying is broken because he just says what he's thinking instead of like covering it up with like this higher stuff.
And it's not coherent thoughts, let's be real.
Right. And the time in which, I don't know if this is in your planning, but the time in which Mikey would admit that, like, I just wanted the adventure should be at the lowest point right before they find the ship. That's when, like, the final thing is sort of like, because he doesn't actually believe it, but he's like, the adventure's cool, and then the adventure kind of starts to putter out. And that's when he's sad. And that's when he admits to everybody, I just wanted to have an adventure with you guys. And then the thing happened, and then they find the ship, and it's like, oh my god! That would be perfect!
I like that a lot. Okay, so really the last little change is the Fratelli's gun. So, like, at some point, they either need to run out of bullets, or damage the gun so it won't fire, or else it's just bullshit that they don't, like, just shoot the kids.
Okay, especially during the ship part.
Right, it's like, I have a gun to your head, I'm gonna make you rock the plank.
Or I'm gonna hold this sword out to your neck.
Like, no, you have a gun, you old sad woman. Just shoot the babies.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, and we can't just be like, like, there's no excuse for her not doing that, because the gun falls into a precarious situation. She goes out of her way to pick it up and then fire it at the children. She really wants to fucking shoot these kids. There's no excuse for her not doing it. So
and
yeah,
like in the remake, we still have that bloodlust. She still wants to fucking shoot the kids, but she's unable to. She's not given that opportunity.
Right.
Also, I want that giant octopus in there. Okay, so a lot of people probably don't know this. I obsessively listened to the commentary tracks when I rented the movie from Blockbuster as a kid.
Why would you think that I would know this? You said it so casually. This is common knowledge.
Okay, well,
everybody who, including my girlfriend, would know that about the octopus.
No, okay, so like Data...
Why wouldn't you know that?
No, Data actually says it. Like, he mentions in the final scene, like, when all the kids are, like, telling about their adventure, he's like, the octopus. And, like, as viewers, you know, we're like, I'm sorry, what the fuck are you talking about?
I fully blanked that out. Because, like...
I mean, a lot of people overlook that, yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
Well, no, it doesn't matter, but, like, I don't know, I've always thought about that octopus. The reason... Okay, they were supposed to have an encounter with an octopus after jumping off the ship, right? In this little ship area. The reason...
That was fucking terrifying.
Yeah, the reason they did it is because they couldn't make it look good. And so they were just like, well, fucking scrap it. But they kept in Data's line. Because, you know, things are not filmed sequentially.
Right.
Well, if some things are, and it turns into bad movies. Just saying. So yeah, even if it's just like they see the corpse of the giant octopus, I just want a little nod to the octopus, and I realize it's weird, but like, I don't know, I want the giant octopus. I'd love for the giant octopus to like attack the Fratellis, and that's how they get away. Like, that would be cool as shit.
That would certainly be something, but I feel like you would have to set that up. Like to have a giant octopus come out of nowhere and then also defeat the Fratellis. Like, that's bad Deus Ex Machina.
No, I mean, like, it'll... yeah, we'll have a hint to it, maybe, like, on the map. One of the kids will be like, is this just, like, a silhouette of giant octopuses? Octopi?
It would be octopi.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think you would need something a little more.
And then maybe they see, like, little hints. Oh, when they board the ship, you know, in the background we see, like, little tentacles moving.
Maybe...
It's like little hints.
You can have that, but I think we'd have to take one step further. Okay. I think in the story of One-Eyed Willie, you would have to have a direct line about the octopus.
Okay, yeah. Or, like, even just, like, mentioning a sea monster. Not even, like, maybe reference the Kraken. And then, oh no, it's just a giant octopus. Still terrifying, though.
Right.
And will kill us.
Yeah, but it has to be, like, a part of the core thing.
Yes.
The things that people are, like, focusing on, because if you don't, then it's still going to come out of nowhere, you know, even if you have technically referenced it, you know, for something that, if it defeats the Fratellis, if it's just kind of around, then you can have the little things, but if it defeats the Fratellis, you have to make sure people pay attention to it, because otherwise it's bad Deus Ex Machina.
Right. I mean, that's fair, but you know, a lot of the movie is a lot of bullshit anyway, so.
Yeah, but it's like silly
I love this movie. I just want to reiterate, I love this movie. She doesn't, but...
I don't. I already said my piece. I'm not going to go back on that.
That's fine. Alright, something else that needs to happen is, like, the kids need to escape with way more treasure. They're, like, enough that actually makes sense that they'd have enough to save the town.
Right.
You know, like, or even better, like, the kids get some evidence that the rich assholes... are doing dirty dealings with the Fratellis. So boom, they have to be investigated, so no time for foreclosures. That makes way more sense.
That makes sense in like... It makes sense to delay the mortgage. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense of how they would find that. Because if they find it before they're in the cave, then there's no reason for them to go in the cave. The problem has been solved. And maybe Mikey still wants to go because he's hungry for the adventure, but that's not necessarily true for any other kids, including his brother. So you can't have it before the cave, but it makes no sense for it to be in the cave.
Well, see, and here's the thing. If they, like, overhear, you know, when they're, like, in the fireplace, if they overhear the Fratellis talking with the rich dirtbags, then, you know, they're not going to have time themselves to escape. Truffle Shuffle. What's his name? Chunk.
If my brain went fatty.
Oh my god. Chunk. If Chunk, he's still gonna go off and he's gonna try to tell them what he saw, but, he still gets picked up by the Fratellis.
Right.
So, they are in the cave, they can't turn back, obviously. And then, once it gets to the well, it's well, we can't go up there. Troy is part of the fucking evil dirtbags. What are you doing? We can't trust them. His dad's evil.
Okay, but, it needs to be more than them just overhearing.
That's fair.
There needs to be a physical thing. I don't know, but, I don't know where you would find that in the cave. This is my problem.
Right. No, that is fair. I'm just spitballing here. I haven't rewritten the whole script. I know
Right.
I've talked enough to make it seem like I have.
It's every episode.
I have a lot of cinematic opinions.
I think
opinions.
Yeah. I think if they came out instead of just having the one or 3 pieces of gold or whatever the fuck they had.
It wasn't even gold. It was cheap fucking gems.
Right.
A bag of gems.
Right. I think if they had because you with how they kind of pillaged the ship, every single character got a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of that was left behind with the whole thing. But I think if one character, and Mouth makes the most sense here, but I think if there's one character who had all of the stuff they picked up, I think that would be enough. And I feel it would be. I feel what would happen with Mouth is he would. Is it established? Maybe in the rewrite you can establish this, but is it established at all in the movie that Mouth can swim? I know that they can swim, because at the end they do, which is why the walking the plank thing is bullshit, because it's not an actual threat. But if it's talked about at all earlier in the movie that Mouth can swim, then what Mouth should do is that right when the Fratellis arrive, he books it and he jumps off the ship. He doesn't wait for anybody fucking else. He just runs and jumps.
We establish him at the beginning. They're he's actually a really good swimmer.
Yeah.
We just throw something in about that.
Right, and so he jumps,
mm-hmm.
and the Goonies,
mm-hmm.
who know that he's a good swimmer, they're oh god, but he's fine.
mm-hmm.
He'll be fine. But we're in a dangerous scenario. But the Fratellis, who don't,
mm-hmm.
then get an idea of oh, that's fitting. We don't have the gun anymore. Let's have them drown by tossing them over. We're on a pirate ship.
Let's drown some kids.
Let's have them walk the plank. That makes more sense. You have an action that leads into that.
That is good. Yeah, I like that. Drown the kids.
And it makes sense for Mouth because Mouth is he's painted as selfish, quote unquote, but also he's resourceful
mm-hmm.
and he's quick thinking. And so it makes the most sense for him to do that.
No, I do like that a lot. Good job, baby.
Thank you.
This is why I need you to help me with these rewrites. And one more last change. Okay, this one is a little more major, and it may be surprising. No one gets together, because the Goonies shouldn't be about romance. I know I said about there's just going to be some sexual sapphic tension. There's not going to be an actual...
Yeah.
It's let them be kids. This movie should be about camaraderie and overcoming the odds together,
mm-hmm.
about fighting back against those who would oppress you. Also, there is so much other shit going on, and it's just way more engaging than a teen kissing an 11-year-old in the dark. None of that.
It's such a weird scene, and it just fucks the pacing up so much. Because it's they're actively running away, and then everybody stops, and then there's
for a pee break and to kiss an 11-year-old boy.
And it's a couple minutes where they're just kind of doing nothing just so that they can push in a kiss with an 11-year-old boy. I don't know. I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's a 0 out of 10. So no... Oh god, pardon. So yeah, no, just no romance.
No romance. Take it out of the fucking movie.
And it's just it's a bunch of 11-year-olds and a couple of teens. Yeah, they don't need to be smacking lips when they're about to drown or be shot by the Fratellis.
Yeah.
You know, that's unneeded. It's unneeded. And that is basically it. That is how I would rewrite the Goonies.
Do you have any additional thoughts before we properly wrap it up?
Does my remake take place in the 80s or modern times? I never really thought about that.
How the fuck am I supposed to know?
I know.
You're the one who goes for wild ass remakes. You're the one who goes for complete restructuring of the story.
I know.
My remakes, I always keep it in a base idea unless there's this very specific reason to diverge. You're the one who would fucking change from the thing. But how am I supposed to know that?
I mean, it just now occurred to me. I mean, I've not accounted for anything like cell phones or anything like that. Modern technology.
Well, they're also underground.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, they're 11-year-olds. They don't need, guns. No, phones!
They definitely don't need guns.
Got that little switched around in my mind. Those two things are just so similar.
Right. I mean, I feel like yours fits in the 80s.
It does. It really does. So. Well, I mean, I guess, with them being openly trans... a little more modern times-ish, but...
Not necessarily.
No, not necessarily, just
because there are a lot of out trans people.
Yeah.
I mean, they really only stopped because of what happened in the 80s, but I mean, hey, yeah. You can still do it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Why not?
We
are the masters of our dreams. Let's just fucking do it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. This is the fucking Goonies. They kissed an 11-year-old. We can have a fucking trans person.
This is our time in here. Out there is their time.
Shut the fuck up. Okay, that's it. We talked about the Goonies. It's not as good as you remember.
I mean... It's not as good as you remember, but I still love it. Bring back the giant octopus, goddammit.
If they did, half their shit better, I would have liked it. They missed the bar by a lot, is what I'm saying. But you know what? People like it. It's full of adventure. There's parts that are good. There's jokes. Cool. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Did You Want Better?
We do need to end the episode now, because if we don't, I'm going to go on a tangent about Goonies facts to you.
Oh, God. You're going to do that after I stop.
Well, yeah, but this way, if you stop the recording, you won't have to listen back to it later.
That's fair.
Double torture for you, baby.
Okay. Well, we'll see you guys later. Sorry about February. Shit happens. Don't fucking expect anything from us.
It's February. No one understands what the hell is happening in February, ever.
Be glad that we do this at all. Fucking... Ugh. But if you've made it this far, we do love and appreciate you. And if you want to use any of these ideas that we have on here, go right away. If a fucking executive with the license for the Goonies wants to use any of our remakes, give us a call and give us $10,000 and go ahead. You have that money kicking around if you're making a fucking Goonies movie.
Hey, Hollywood, call me. Talk to me. You don't even need to go through my agent. Wink.
Cool. So, we'll see you guys next time, and we hope you have a real good one.
Bye!
Bye-bye.
I should not be allowed to, speak.